Power in Skyrim often comes at a cost, and nowhere is that more clear than with the Daedric princes. They aren't rulers in the traditional sense. They don't govern lands or lead armies in ways you can easily understand. Instead, they influence from the shadows, shaping people, twisting desires, and offering power that always feels just a little too tempting to refuse. But not all of them are equal. Some are chaotic, some are manipulative, and some are just outright cruel. The line between them isn't always clear, and that's what makes them so interesting. Because what one prince sees as a gift, another might see as control. What feels like a blessing at first can quickly turn into something much darker. Some Daedric princes operate through deception, others through domination. But Nymeria stands apart because she doesn't try to disguise what she represents. She embraces it fully and expects you to do the same. Known as the Daedric Prince of Decay, Rot, and all things rejected by society, Nymeria isn't concerned with power in the traditional sense. She doesn't promise glory, status, or even control. Instead, she offers something far more unsettling: acceptance of what is considered repulsive, and a complete rejection of what most people would call normal. And that's exactly what makes her one of the most disturbing and arguably one of the most evil Daedric princes in all of Skyrim. Nymeria's influence is built on inversion. Everything that is typically seen as undesirable, decay, filth, death, consumption, she elevates into something sacred. But unlike other princes who twist reality in subtle ways, Nymeria's domain is painfully direct. There's no illusion to hide behind, no grand deception masking her intentions. What you see is exactly what you get. Rot is rot, flesh is flesh, and yet, under her influence, these things are no longer meant to be avoided. They are meant to be embraced. The philosophy comes to life most clearly through her followers. In Skyrim, Nymeria's worshippers aren't hidden behind layers of secrecy or complexity. They gather openly, unified by a shared belief that would be considered unthinkable by nearly everyone else: cannibalism. And what makes this especially disturbing isn't just the act itself, it's how normalized it becomes within her circle. There's no hesitation, no sense of wrongdoing. Instead, it's treated as a ritual, as communion, as something that brings them closer to their prince. And that's where Nymeria's true cruelty begins to show, because she doesn't just encourage horrific behaviour, she reframes it. She takes something that would naturally repel most people and turns it into a source of belonging. For those who feel cast out, rejected, or disconnected from society, Nymeria offers a place where they are not only accepted, but valued. But that acceptance comes at a cost. You must abandon the very instinct that would normally define your humanity. You don't resist the darkness, you become part of it. Her quest in Skyrim, centered around the priest, perfectly captures this dynamic. What begins as a relatively simple task, investigating strange activity in Markarth, quickly turns into something far more disturbing. You are led deeper into a hidden gathering, surrounded by individuals who speak calmly, even warmly, about something deeply grotesque. And at the center of it all is Nymeria's influence, guiding the situation toward a ritual that forces the player into a choice. Not between good and evil in a dramatic sense, but between rejection and acceptance. You can walk away, refuse to participate, and maintain a moral distance from what's happening. Or you can embrace it, take part in the ritual, consume the priest, and in doing so, align yourself with Nymeria's worldview. What makes this moment so effective is how grounded it feels. There's no massive spectacle, no overwhelming display of power, just a quiet, deliberate act that carries far more weight than most of the grander choices in the game. And if you choose to go through with it, the reward, Nymeria's ring, reinforces everything she stands for. It grants power through consumption, turning an act of horror into a mechanical advantage. That's how Nymeria operates. She doesn't force you, she tempts you into redefining what you're willing to accept. And once that line is crossed, there's no real going back. Compared to other Daedric princes, Nymeria's scope might seem smaller. She isn't trying to conquer realms or dominate entire populations, but that's part of what makes her so effective and so disturbing. Her influence is personal, intimate. It doesn't rely on large-scale destruction, but on individual transformation. She doesn't need to control the world if she can change how people see it. And once someone begins to see decay as beauty, consumption as connection, and rejection as belonging, they're already hers. There's also something uniquely uncomfortable about how grounded her themes are. Other princes deal in concepts that feel distant: madness, destruction, domination on a cosmic scale. But Namira's domain is much closer to reality. Decay is something everyone understands. It's part of life, part of death, part of the natural order. But Namira doesn't just accept that, she glorifies it. She turns something inevitable into something desirable. And in doing so, she removes the boundary that most people rely on to separate themselves from it. And that's what makes her evil in a way that feels different from the rest. It's not just about what she does, it's about what she asks you to become. There's no illusion of heroism, no justification that softens the act. If you follow her, you know exactly what you're choosing. And the fact that the game allows you to make that choice so quietly, so casually, only makes it more impactful. Because Namira doesn't need to overwhelm you with power. She needs you to say yes. And once you do, you're no longer standing outside of her world. You're part of it. For her ability to take what is universally rejected and turn it into something embraced, for the deeply personal and irreversible nature of her influence, and for how disturbingly grounded her philosophy feels compared to other Daedric princes, Namira stands as one of the most evil forces in all of Skyrim. Some Daedric princes blur the line between cruelty and purpose, masking their intentions behind ideology or twisted forms of balance. Molag Bal does not. There is no misunderstanding him, no alternative perspective that softens what he represents. He is domination in its purest form. The Daedric prince of enslavement, control, and the complete destruction of another's will. Where others manipulate or tempt, Molag Bal breaks. And that clarity is exactly what makes him one of the most undeniably evil forces in all of Skyrim. Everything about Molag Bal revolves around power over others. Not influence, not persuasion, ownership. He doesn't want followers in the traditional sense. He wants subjects, people stripped away of agency, reduced to tools that exist solely to serve him. And unlike other princes who might reward loyalty with power or status, Molag Bal's version of reward often feels indistinguishable from punishment. Serving him isn't an honour, it's submission. This philosophy is made painfully clear during his quest in Skyrim, centred around the abandoned house in Markarth. At first, it feels like a typical haunted location. Strange noises, a mysterious presence, something hidden beneath the surface. But as you move deeper inside, that illusion falls apart quickly. The voice guiding you isn't seeking help. It's testing you, pushing you, and by the time you reach the altar, there's no ambiguity left. Molag Bal isn't just asking, he's commanding. When the priest, Logrolf the Willful, is brought before you, the situation becomes one of the most uncomfortable moments in the game. You're not fighting a monster, you're not defending yourself. You're being told to break someone, to beat them into submission until they renounce their faith and give themselves over to Molag Bal. And the game doesn't frame this as a misunderstanding. It's deliberate. You are participating in an act of domination, one that strips another character of their identity and replaces it with forced devotion. There's no greater goal, no hidden necessity. It's not about saving the world or gaining knowledge. It's about control. And the most disturbing part is how direct it is. There's no layer of abstraction to distance you from what you're doing. Every action is intentional, every step reinforcing the same idea. Molag Bal's power comes from breaking others down until there's nothing left but obedience. Even the artifact he grants, the Mace of Molag Bal, reflects this. It doesn't just deal damage, it drains stamina and magicka, weakening enemies, making them easier to overcome. It embodies his philosophy perfectly, not just defeating opponents, but reducing them. taking what they have and leaving them with less. It's domination made mechanical. But what truly elevates this Daedric prince into a different level of evil isn't just what you experience in Skyrim, it's what he represents across the broader lore. He is known as the creator of vampires, a race born not from natural transformation, but from acts of violation and control. Vampirism under Molag Bal's influence isn't a gift in any traditional sense. It's a curse rooted in his desire to spread his dominion into the mortal world. Even when his influence appears to grant power, it's never without a cost. There's always a loss of autonomy, a shift away from self towards something that ultimately serves him. And that's the pattern with Molag Bal. Everything he touches becomes an extension of his will, whether it's individuals, entire groups, or even entire realms. His goal is always the same: to impose himself onto others until there's nothing left that exists independently. Compared to other Daedric princes, there's a stark absence of ambiguity here. Mehrunes Dagon represents destruction, but destruction can be chaotic, even impartial. Sheolgarath embodies madness, but madness is unpredictable, sometimes even harmless. Even Namira, disturbing as she is, offers a form of belonging. Molag Bal offers none of that. There's no nuance to his cruelty, no alternate interpretation that reframes his actions in a less severe light. He doesn't trick you into serving him. He forces the situation until you either comply or walk away. And even walking away doesn't feel like a victory. It just means you refuse to engage with something fundamentally corrupt. That lack of complexity is what makes him so effective as a symbol of pure evil. In a world where morality is often grey, where choices come with trade-offs and consequences that aren't always clear, Molag Bal stands as something absolute. A reminder that some forces don't need justification. They simply are. And in Skyrim, that presence lingers even beyond his quest. The idea that something like him exists, watching, waiting, influencing from beyond, adds a layer of discomfort to the world. Because unlike other threats that can be defeated or contained, Molag Bal isn't just something you can truly stop. He doesn't need to win in a traditional sense. He just needs moments, small acts of submission, broken individuals, choices that give him even the slightest foothold. And over time, that's enough. For his complete disregard for autonomy, his focus on domination over all else, and the deeply uncomfortable nature of the actions he demands from both his followers and the player, Molag Bal stands as one of the most evil Daedric princes in all of Skyrim, if not the most evil Daedric prince in the entirety of the Elder Scrolls. The Daedric princes were never meant to be understood in simple terms. They exist outside of Skyrim's rules, outside of its morality, its balance, its sense of right and wrong. But even among them, there are clear differences. Some deal in chaos, others in manipulation, others in strange, almost neutral forms of influence. But then you have princes like these. Namira, Molag Bal don't just blur the line between good and evil, they ignore it completely. Namira twists something deeply human, taking rejection and turning it into something dark and irreversible. She doesn't force you, she changes what you're willing to accept, until the line you once had doesn't even exist anymore. Molag Bal is far more direct. There's no illusion with him, no hidden meaning, just domination, control, and the complete destruction of free will. He doesn't want followers, he doesn't want ownership, and everything he touches reflects that. And then there's Mehrunes Dagon. Wider in scale, but no less dangerous. He doesn't focus on individuals. He tears at the world itself, turning simple ideas like change and ambition into something catastrophic, until destruction becomes the only outcome. And that's what ties all three of them together. They don't just cause harm, they redefine it. They take things that might seem understandable at first, belonging, power, change, and push them so far that they become something unrecognizable, something irreversible. And the most unsettling part, you're never forced into it. Every interaction, every quest, every choice, they all give you an option to walk away. But if you don't, then you're not just witnessing their influence, You're basically a part of it.